Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rally Cycling's coverage from the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. Today's route sends the peloton straight uphill out of the gates and over Lukmanier Pass, topping out at over 6,000 feet in elevation before a long downhill run to the outskirts of Descentis Cedrune. My name's Tom Soladay. Thank you for joining us. Also joining us is Gavin Mannion from his basement in Fort Collins, Colorado. Gavin, you've been top 15 the last few days. How are you feeling? Are you feeling recovered? Just let us know where you're at, where your body's at this morning.
Still pretty tired this morning. Still kind of dark out here, but had a couple cups of coffee and sucked down some delicious Cliff Shot liquid breakfast this morning. So we'll see how today goes. Hopefully I don't bonk. I've got some more Cliff blocks near my bike just in case I do.
So because it's so early, obviously the electrolytes and the sugar are necessary. You probably started the day with coffee. Did you completely skip breakfast since it's so early?
Yeah, pretty much. Tried to maximize my sleep time and then jumped on the bike and just hit some simple sugars, and hopefully the riding will kind of level out the blood sugar so I don't go into a coma here.
Yeah. Hey, so you've been top 15 on the previous two stages, despite being at altitude. You seem pretty motivated for this, but as we know, professional cyclists live, train, eat to race outside in the real world. So what has this been like making a transition, at least for the short term?
It's definitely been different, but it's still better than hitting the interval button on your computer and racing just yourself. So, I think before these races started, I was a little less excited, but as soon as you start going, like for some reason, it feels like you're in a race.
Yeah.
Get that adrenaline flowing, and all of a sudden you're chasing down Primoz Roglic.
I think that's certainly a factor for all of you guys. You've raced at the World Tour level, you've raced against these guys, and I think that's just added motivation and focus for you guys racing against some of the best riders in the world. Like, no doubt, there's no argument there. But you and the rest of the guys, the team, have really embraced this. It's been fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and show them the race route. So why don't you go ahead and mute me on your end so you're not listening to the broadcast the whole time. And hopefully we can check in with you at the end of the broadcast here, Gavin.
Sounds good. Thanks
Awesome.
for watching along.
Hey, thanks, man. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Rally Cycling's coverage from the final stage, Stage 5 of the Digital Swiss 5. We're already having some technical difficulties with some of our athletes. Nate Brown is on the live feed for European television, but former Canadian road champion Matteo Dal-Cin, who finished 5th just a few days ago, has been having some technical issues. He just sent a video in for us. Hopefully he can make it to the start line. But let's go ahead and hear from the former Canadian road champion about what's been going on this morning.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Sitting here on some technical malfunctions this morning, trying to sign on to the Tour de Suisse, and seems like I've exhausted my limited computer resources, so sadly we'll not be able to be partaking this morning, and we'll be joining you spectating in 15 minutes or so. Thanks again to everyone for tuning in, and it's been an interesting experience with our first time online racing. Hopefully, as we do it more and more until we can race on the road again, we'll work out the kinks, and see everyone online. Bye.
All right, thanks, Matteo. We hope it works out for your race today. Everyone who's just joining us, we have Gavin Mannion from the top of the broadcast from his home in Fort Collins, Colorado. Gavin's finished in the top 15 on both previous stages that he has competed in. Gavin's been a super consistent performer despite competing from his home in Colorado at altitude, at a deficit. It's been really impressive from the former Colorado Classic champion, but we expected nothing less from Gavin. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the start line. It looks like the Ruby platform has indeed fixed the glitch from the last few days. You actually get to see the riders. We're starting on the line here. We're going to go ahead and head over to Team Director Pat McCarty on Race Radio. Just check in with Pat, see how he's doing, seeing how the riders are doing since we're having some technical issues here. So let's go check in with Pat. Hey there, Pat. Do we have you?
Check in with Pat. See
yes.
Awesome. So already some issues early this morning. We've been largely, other than Nate Brown's mechanical on stage one, it looks like we might not have Matteo on today's start line.
Yeah, I was messaging with the race organization a little bit and not really sure. They think it was a website traffic issue.
Sure.
Sounds like they're getting quite a bit of traffic today.
Yep.
People watching the race and following along. But yeah, he couldn't get logged in, couldn't download the race, couldn't really access anything on the platform.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, even though he troubleshooted everything on his end, but it is what it is. There's only so much we could do.
Sure.
Talk to the race, let them know what's going on, and no worries.
Well, just like our regular road season, our typical road season when we're racing on the road, one of the benefits to having multiple riders is if someone gets sick, crashes, has a mechanical, even a technical malfunction like Matteo, fortunately there are other riders to fall back on. Now that does mean a little more pressure, but we have Gavin Mannion that we started the broadcast with. Pat, now I know you formerly lived in Fort Collins. Are you back there right now?
I'm in Fort Collins now, yes.
Yeah. So how long have you been in Colorado?
Since about 2013.
Okay, right on. Yeah, so today is another mountain stage, maybe not quite as steep as Newfoundland Pass, but are we going to expect very similar results to what we've seen, just as far as Gavin Mannion, maybe starting out a little more modestly and easing into his effort?
Yeah, this one's going to be tricky. It's uphill right out of the gate.
Yep.
And like we saw yesterday, there's quite a bit of downhill. So you're going to see guys bumping up against that 72k an hour limit.
Yeah.
And I think again there's some strategy there, being able to keep the maximum speed without pedaling unnecessarily hard. And that's actually quite a bit of the stage is downhill if you see the profile. So
yeah.
that'll play a role for sure. But there's enough climbing. You're going to see some of the similar players again. Rohan Dennis, James Whalen, guys like this.
Yeah.
Will be riding well today.
Fantastic. Hey, well, I'm going to jump into the overview of the route and the flyover. Pat, thanks for connecting with us and rolling with the punches here. I'm going to check back in with you once the riders settle into the race.
Okay. Good luck, everybody.
All right. Thanks. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. This is the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. We're going to do a quick run-through of the race route. Here we go. So for this stage, we are starting in Camperio. We are heading straight over Luc Merrier Pass, then a gradual downhill into the outskirts of Decentis, before the final uphill drag to the line. This beautiful graphic that the Tour de Suisse, Ruby and Villon provided for us. Here is the race profile graphic. This is the route that they are going to be tackling today for the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. We're entering the final moments before the start. We started the broadcast with Gavin Mannion from his home in Fort Collins, Colorado. We also have Nate Brown riding out of Tennessee, who's on the live European broadcast. And our former Canadian champion, Matteo Dal-Cin, unfortunately is having technical issues, so we only have 2 riders on the line today. And off they go in a quick early start. This is great. The last few stages, we haven't had avatars from the line. There's a car on course. Everyone's navigated that safely. Canadian Alex Cataford for his Israeli Startup Nation is there. John asked what are the overall team standings are. These are 5 individual races. So from one day to another, the rosters change. There's no overall ranking carrying from one day to another. But why don't we go ahead and run through who our riders are going up against today. So the team, as far as faring, there are 18 total teams, including rally cycling. 15 of them are World Tour. But an interesting fact, this is professional sport after all, and we always have some statistics for you, is that of the 18 teams, only 6 have had a rider finish in the top 15 on every stage to this point. Those teams include Team Ineos, Team Sunweb, CCC Team, Groupama FDJ, and you guessed it, none other than Rally Cycling, one of only 6 teams to have finished in the top 15 on the previous 4 stages. We're adapting to these new times. The riders, the staff, our entire organization, and we're not about to waste your time by showing up unprepared and not motivated. So the guys, Gavin, Matteo, Ryan Anderson, Zukowsky, all of our guys are taking this seriously, even if they're not in top form. And just a few weeks ago, they didn't have a target. This has been really great. They're here to put on a show for you as we started the broadcast with Gavin Mannion at his home in Colorado. And what we saw with Stephen Bassett, who had a really impressive 8th place finish yesterday, is that these guys are going to give absolutely everything they can. They want to put on a show. So let's jump right into the race action. Let's see what is going on. We're going to go to the head of affairs, see who's settling in at the top, and then we'll go ahead and run through the who's who of the World Tour field that is taking part. James Whelan, no surprise, just like he did in the opening stages, straight out to a lead. He's already finished on the podium. Another podium finisher, Russian Ilnur Zakarin, shortly behind him. And then Maximilian Schachmann from Bora Hansgrohe. Many of you will remember him. He won the very last professional bike race on the calendar this year, Paris-Nice. That ended up being shortened once the virus spread throughout Europe. And so Schachmann is in excellent form, at least as of 6 weeks ago, the beginning of March. He is just ahead of Jai Hindley from Team Sunweb. Nico Roche, already a stage winner, the Irishman in fine form. You can expect him to slowly pick his way through the front of the peloton. Michael Kwiatkowski, 2014 UCI World Road Racing Champion, extraordinary performer, former winner of Milano San Remo, super versatile. He's starting off in 9th. And then stage 1 winner, Rohan Dennis, the Aussie from Team Ineos, current world individual time trial champion. Roche, very much like Rohan Dennis, very much like Nico Roche. You can expect these riders to pick their way through the World Tour field. We're going to drop back further. Domenico Pozzovivo from NTT Pro Cycling is here. Ben O'Connor, his teammate. Let's see, Schelling from Bora Hansgrohe. We're dropping back a little further. James Pickley, a Canadian on Israeli Startup Nation. Nate Brown, who's on the European broadcast out of Tennessee for Rally Cycling, is currently in 25th. Just the other day, he blasted out of the gates, taking the whole shot in a really, really impressive effort and kept the power all the way through to the finish. And Nate is just ahead of the man, they say, with the panache, the French darling, Julien Alaphilippe, winner of stages of the Tour de France, spent a long time in the yellow jersey. This guy has won so many professional bike races, but that extended stint in the yellow jersey at the Tour de France last year really captured people's hearts in his home country of France. And now we have Gavin Mannion, who has been 10th and 15th on 2 of the previous stages of the Digital Swiss 5. If you were just joining us, we started the broadcast with Gavin from his home in Fort Collins, Colorado. And Gavin is starting right about where we would expect. He has to be really careful with his effort because he's operating with less oxygen, competing from altitude. He's already at a deficit. And the former Colorado Classic champion knows that he really needs to gauge his effort early on so he doesn't go too far into the red. Teammate Nate Brown is just on his heels. That is excellent. These guys are using each other to motivate each other, the 2 rally riders on the left of your screen right there. Earlier today, while the riders were getting ready, our team soigneur, Jose Souza, checked in with everyone just about how they're preparing and to wish them good luck.
Hi guys, welcome to stage 5 of Digital Tour of Swiss. We have a set of clip product the blocks, the gels, and the bars for today's stage and to have the guys on good performance. Please support us. Let's cheer for the guys. Thank you very much.
Awesome, Jose. Terribly nice guy. If you want to learn more about Jose, you can head over to Pactimo, our on-bike clothing supplier. They did a wonderful Q&A with Jose just the other week. I think they went well over time because people kept logging in and asking questions and sending praise over to our man from Portugal. Fantastic guy. We already ran through the people who have started this race. We're going to drop through. We're going to tell you more about who's competing today on the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. Again, James Whelan, the Aussie from EF Pro Cycling, is straight out to the front. I believe it was stage 1. He started in a similar manner before. Rohan Dennis from Team Ineos, the world time trial champion, overtook him. Schachmann, the winner of Paris-Nice, the last professional bike race on the calendar for 2020 until the season got postponed, is in second. Dead heat, shoulder to shoulder with Ilnur Zakharin, the Russian from CCC team. I wonder what those two are talking about. We're going to drop back to Rohan Dennis. Hey, he's slowly moving up. Last time we checked in, he was around top 10. There's Rohan Dennis. And then there's Nico Roche, the Irishman from Team Sunweb. He formerly led the Volta a España. Last year, the final Grand Tour on the calendar. He is currently in 7th. Italian perennial Grand Tour contender Domenico Pozzovivo from NTT Pro Cycling. Also, who we haven't seen yet on the start line was Vincenzo Nibali, multi-time Grand Tour stage winner. I believe he's actually won the Giro d'Italia, Tour de France, and the Volta a España. That list is very, very small, and he is one of them along with Chris Froome and Alberto Contador. This is easily the most talented, strongest field ever assembled for a climbing event in the virtual realm. We're extremely proud and happy and motivated to be part of such a world-class field. We're going to drop back through here. Former world champion Kwiatkowski has dropped back to 17th. Canadian Piccoli is currently in 19th. And Gavin Mannion has moved up 5 spots, riding well over 6 watts per kilogram, currently in 20th. Folks, if you're just joining us, this is the final stage. We're heading towards Luc Manier Pass in Switzerland. You can see the profile at the bottom of the screen here. They're still in the early going, but so far, Gavin Mannion has proven to get stronger and stronger, like most of his rally cycling teammates, as the stages go on. It really shows a lot of maturity and experience to gauge the effort and slowly work into it. Matthias Frank is one of the World Tour riders who is guest riding for the Swiss national team. Ordinarily, if your trade team is in a race, you would be unable to actually start for a national or a composite team, but in a virtual realm, the rules are a little different. We've seen Stefan Kung, who's for Groupama FDJ, competing and winning for the Swiss national team. But these are new times. We're all adjusting. Nate Brown is currently in 23rd place. Nate is looking great on the road. He started a little more conservatively today than he did the other stages. Nate Brown, if you're tuning in Europe, you will see him on the live coverage along with one member from all of the other teams. We're going to drop down to Tim Wellens, powerhouse, starting modestly in 26th place right now. We're going to see if, indeed, I know we checked in with Matteo. He was having connection issues. We want to drop back down and see if Matteo was able to make it back into the race. It wasn't looking good, but we appreciate him checking in with us. Again, the duo from the USA, Colorado and Tennessee, Gavin Mannion and Nate Brown, are shoulder to shoulder. The boys in orange are looking good. You can expect them to further ride up the peloton. They're currently both riding around 6 watts per kilogram. We're going to drop back through here. Wout Poels from Team Bahrain Merida, formerly of Team Ineos, is in the top 30. Julian Alaphilippe for Deutsche Quick-Step. I got to say, a man of his talents, he's already in 33rd place. I don't expect him to ride himself into the top 10. I'd love to be surprised. We like seeing comebacks, similar to Bassett overtaking the World Tour rider Ludvigsen from Groupama FDJ yesterday to finish 8th. We love things when they're unpredictable. Even though there's no drafting in the Ruvi platform, pacing is so key in these types of efforts. They're currently on Smart Trainers. If this is your first day tuning in with us, Smart Trainer means they have a Bluetooth connection to the platform on their computers, and as the gradient goes up or down, the resistance immediately changes. And so as the team director, Pat McCarty, mentioned at the beginning of our broadcast, once you hit 72 kilometers an hour, the riders no longer need to pedal. So one of the interesting parts is how long will the riders be able to coast on the downhill because of the terminal velocity, and how much is that going to affect the effort required to stay at the head of affairs for the final drag up into DeSantis. We're going to drop back. We're just looking for that Canadian flag, or possibly there's Alex Cataford from Israel Startup Nation. It does not look like Matteo was able to connect in time. Sorry, Matteo, we know you got up early. We know you wanted to represent the team and help your teammates. But Nate Brown, Gavin Mannion, they know you're rooting for them, and we appreciate you joining us. We'll see you in the live chat later on. We're going to head back up to the lead of affairs. You want to hear about everything, not just rally cycling, even though our team is awesome and they love you. Thank you for tuning in. James Whelan, former podium finisher from EF Pro Cycling, is now leading the race. Rohan Dennis, the current world individual time trial champion. No surprise, he's already won a stage. He's currently in second, ahead of another podium finisher, Russian Ilnur Zakharin from CCC team. Schachman, the winner of Paris-Nice. Jai Hindley, super talented Australian from Team Sunweb and climber. Nico Roche. Sunweb has really shown up and been consistent, perhaps one of the best, easily one of the best teams during the Digital Swiss 5. These guys are not going to take it lying down. They're really, really motivated. Italian Pozzovivo from NTT Pro Cycling is in 8th. Chris Hamilton, another Sunweb rider. It looks like Sunweb has all 3 of their riders in the top 10 currently on the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. Let's drop back to the rally cycling duo. We don't have to drop back very far to find them. Here is Gavin Mannion, currently in 20th. Gavin was 10th and 15th previously on the stages that he has competed in, which were stages 1 and 3. We're currently on 5 of Digital Swiss 5. Nate Brown out of Tennessee, looking great. I know we've all been spending more time indoors, and we really appreciate these beautiful views, European tunnels, of what riding will be like when we're all able to go outside and gather together. We look forward to that day, but until we get there, we're making the most of it. And speaking of making the most of it, one of our riders, Sarah Poitevin, came up with this incredible idea earlier this year, or 6 weeks ago, just about how are we going to help people? It doesn't matter if they have bikes or trainers or subscribe to a digital platform like this. How are we going to encourage people to lead healthier lives during such difficult, stressful, and socially isolating times? And so Poito launched the Healthy Habits campaign challenge for the last 6 weeks. In the latest edition, she nominated Berthoud, Colorado resident Emerson Arante to lead the Fill the Well theme. That is the week we are currently in. It's all about rediscovering the joy in your life. It's all about just the small things that can make such a huge difference. We're not asking you to do very much. These are just very small things that can benefit the rest of your life and how you're able to react to the unpredictable world that we're all faced with. So Emerson Arante is here to tell his lighthearted touch about the Fill the Well theme for the Healthy Habits Challenge. Let's take a look.
Pull it down just slightly. Improvise. It says right there. I sound like your uncle on Facebook. I want you to ask yourself, what is something in your life that you can invest in that will bring you joy? Welcome to week number 5 of the Healthy Habits Challenge. I'm Emerson Arante, and I'm excited to announce this week's Fill the Well theme. This challenge isn't about adding another thing to your to-do list or trying to create a new hobby. It's about rediscovering a passion or revisiting a project you simply haven't made time for. Maybe now's a chance to work on that poker face. Full. No. All in. No. Full. Wait, no. Maybe you like doing puzzles to relax. Time to see your inner Picasso. This is definitely some of my best work. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just relax. In all honesty, it doesn't really matter what it is. What matters is that it's your thing and that it replenishes you. To take part in this week's challenge, simply share a photo or a video of how you are filling the well. Stay happy, stay healthy. Thank you for being a fan of rally cycling. That's all I got. We're done. That's good. All in. No. Yes.
And we're back to the action. Thank you everyone for joining us for the final stage, stage 5 of the Digital Swiss 5. We're going to jump back up to the front of the peloton. Let's see if James Whelan from EF Pro Cycling is still in the lead. In fact, he is not. Whelan has dropped to 3rd. Stage 1 winner and current individual time trial world champion from Team Ineos, Rohan Dennis, is overtaken the lead. Maximilian Schachmann from Bora Hansgrohe, recent winner of the Paris-Nice stage race in France, is in 2nd. James Whelan is in 3rd. Podium finisher Zacharine from CCC has dropped back to 4th. Nico Roche is looking to continue Sunweb's sterling performance just behind his teammate Jai Hindley from Australia. Chris Hamilton, again, Sunweb, taking this very seriously. Really impressive performance. NTT, another team that has multiple riders in the top 10. Canadian James Pickley from Israeli Startup Nation is currently moving up to 12th. We're going to see where Gavin Mannion is stacking up. Gavin Mannion is in 18th. He started, I believe, somewhere around 26th, just over midway through the pack. Mannion is just gradually working his way through the field. You can expect that to continue from the Colorado resident. Let's see where Nate Brown is currently settling in. 5.5 watts per kilogram for the Tennessee native. Nate Brown is currently 23rd on the road. We're going to, again, if you're tuning in, we started the broadcast with Gavin Mannion from his home in Fort Collins, Colorado. We're going to try to get to a few of your questions. Thank you to all those early risers, our loyal fans who are tuning in day after day. This has been fantastic to bring you rally cycling focused broadcast from a virtual professional race. This is what we have. We're going to run with it. John actually asked if climbing specialists have an advantage on the virtual course compared to sprinters. Well, John, this is all based on, with no drafting, this is all based on watts per kilogram. How much power do you put out versus your weight? So someone who would be a good climber would have a high watts per kilogram over an extended effort like this for an hour. Sprinters who are not having to fight gravity and riding flat roads, they may have a high watts per kilogram, but it's actually their max power or their short sprint burst that puts them at an advantage over the climbers on flat terrain. But with all of this climbing, this is generally the strongest overall rider, since there's no drafting, there's no wind hitting the riders other than the fans in their basements. It really just comes down on the Ruby platform that we're on this week. It's just 2 watts per kilogram. Let's go ahead and go back to the front of affairs. Let's take a look at what's going on. As we mentioned earlier in the broadcast and every day, we've emphasized how important teamwork is, and then the feeling of team, the culture within our team, Rally Cycling, and that we're not going to waste your time. When we show up to an event, we're going to be prepared, we're going to be motivated. Are these ideal circumstances? Absolutely not. But they're going to give you everything they have. And there's no better example of how this is a team sport. Even though there is no drafting, they physically can't do anything. It's more of a team culture and emotional support. But we had a really nice message from one of our athletes who checked in with everyone, just rooting them on, encouraging them yesterday. We're going to let you hear back from our top virtual racer, our very own Krista Doble-Hickok.
It's been so fun to watch you guys racing in the virtual world with all of our fans cheering you on. Can't wait to see what you do in the upcoming stages. Set some best powers. If you get on the podium, you're excused from setting best powers or best heart rate. So go hard and have fun.
All right, thanks, Krista. That was straight from her home in Marina del Rey, California. Many of you who follow Krista or the team on social media, you'd be aware she's on the Zwift platform all the time, which actually does have drafting, but similar setup. They all have smart trainers that adjust the resistance as the gradient changes. Krista will be leading the Velo News group ride this coming Wednesday. We'll make sure we share some further information in the next few days. If you're not already following us on social media, I don't know what to tell you other than follow us, like this stream, leave us a comment, share it so your friends and family can see this. This is going to be available once the broadcast is over as a regular video post. So thank you so much for joining us for the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5 Virtual Racing Series. We're going to see what the overall standings are right now. Paris-Nice champ Schachmann looking strong in 2nd. He's only 220 feet behind Stage 1 winner and current world individual time trial champion Rohan Dennis. We're just leaving this up for you, for some of you who appreciate a list view. This is just a basic overview of how international this sport is, even though it appears that the Australians are taking over the virtual platform. We're going to see where our rally cycling riders are stacked. Again, Gavin Mannion, he started in 26th. He moved up to 18th. Now he's in 17th, the Colorado resident that you can see at the bottom of your screen. We're going to take a look. Let's see what kind of effort Gavin is making. Gavin's focused. He's rocking and rolling. You know, one of the great things about having a live broadcast like this and racing virtually is when you know that there isn't a peloton around you, the faces that you're going to make on the trainer are just a little different than when you're actually out on the road racing with these guys. We saw what Stephen Bassett was all over the place, showing the pain was evident. He was rocking back and forth, he fell off his bike, even coasted at one point to catch his breath yesterday. So it's a really great insight to our athletes and the kind of effort it takes to maintain their position in this World Tour peloton. You may have noticed the Gavin Mannion mentioned at the top of the broadcast how he was getting ready for this race. And one of the things that our riders take advantage of is Amp Human PR Lotion. It's something that allows them to go harder and deeper into efforts like this. It's practically made it perfect for the racing virtually, and that most of these events are anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, and it really helps to buffer the lactic acid so you can go harder or deeper for longer. So why don't we go ahead and learn a little more about Amp Human PR Lotion. And we're back to the action. John, thanks for joining us. John McGuire. We're going to go ahead and take a look at where our riders are in the peloton. Gavin Mannion has moved up now to 15th behind Stage 1 winner and current world time trial champion Rohan Dennis. We're going to drop back. We're going to waterfall back through Schachman currently in second. Former stage winner Nico Roche, the Irishman, is in fifth. Pozzovivo, the Italian, in sixth. James Whelan started fast out the gates, has dropped back to seventh. We have yet to see anyone shoot out of the gates, lose more than just 2 or 3 positions, recover and come back. We're going to see if James Whelan, the Aussie from EF Pro Cycling, Nate Brown's former teammate, can do exactly that. Chris Hamilton from Team Sunweb, they've been riding strong all week, is currently in 10th overall. And then our very own Gavin Mannion, he has not finished outside of the top 15. You can be sure that Gavin will continue picking riders off. He's a master at pacing his effort. He's at his home in Colorado, a former Colorado Classic champion. He knows what it takes to compete against these riders. He was one of our leaders over the Queen Stage, the highest pass paved road in all of Switzerland, in the Queen Stage last year, and in the climbing stage, Newfoundland Pass, just 2 days ago. Nate Brown is doing a great job with his effort right now, currently in 20th. We'd love to see it. Every team is allowed to have 3 riders, but at the top of the broadcast, Matteo Dal-Cin shared a little message from his home in Canada's capital, Ottawa, that he was having issues connecting to the platform. It's Sunday, everyone's online, and unfortunately, the former Canadian road champion was not able to join us in the live feed today, but he is down there in the chat enjoying another cup of coffee, talking to all of our riders and staff, our fans, and our partners. So give us a like, drop a comment. Do you have a question? I'll do my best to get to it. Nate Brown is in 20th. Gavin Mannion is riding his way up towards the top 10 right now, hovering around 6 watts per kilogram. Motorcycle gave him plenty of room when passing. Thank you so much. These are absolutely beautiful roads in Switzerland. We're all spending more time indoors, but we're really looking forward to wherever you live is being able to get outside and ride with others. That's great. The motorcycle is now off the course. I believe we are actually heading closer. Yep, that is what it sounds like. We're getting closer to the feed zone. I just heard it over our race radio. So we're going to check in with lead Soignier, Jose Souza, out of Portugal, virtually giving us a little heads up.
Rally fans, I need you to help me today on the feed zone. Please join us today on stage 5 on Digital Tour of Swiss. Please come and help me feed the guys. Thank you very much. Let's support the guys.
Awesome, Jose. Fantastic. What Jonas Carney, the performance director, Pat McCarty, Charles Aaron, everyone involved, Zach Bell, Joanne Kiesanowski, what they've been able to build this positive team culture is that you have these really fantastic individuals who are on all ends of the earth, sending their love and support for these athletes, and not just the ones competing here, but the ones who are in the chat, the ones who are training alone right now, the ones who are not able to see their friends and family in person. It's all just about providing a healthy and supportive environment while we adapt to these new times and look ahead and look forward to the day where we can all congregate, get together, share our passions, and one of those obviously being not just living a healthy life, but racing. We love racing. That's why we're here. We're going to go to the front of the race. Let's see if the situation has changed. Rohan Dennis, like we said multiple times in this broadcast, current world champion in the time trial, leading the race, former stage 1 winner. You're here for rally cycling. You know, you love our men and women in the orange, but we want to make sure that you get a clear picture of what's going on. These are the best riders in the world, easily the most talented group of climbers ever assembled on a virtual platform. Our guys are really holding their own. Irishman Nico Roche, Sunweb, like we said, hats off to them. Really incredible commitment from their riders. They are also one of the other few programs that has a men's and women's professional cycling team, just like rally cycling. But it's great to see that they're riding so well. And in fact, even though we should probably tell them there's no drafting, I'm quite surprised they're riding together so quickly, but whatever works. Ben O'Connor rounding out the top 10 for NTT Pro Cycling. We're going to drop back through here. James Pickley, you saw him win a few stages, or very competitive in a few stages, and almost win the Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah last year on the Elevate team. Currently riding for Israel Startup Nation. Matthias Frank, the Swiss rider, riding on the Swiss national team, is in 13th. Gavin Mannion, 15th place. He's 250 feet behind Gastauer from Aja Desert La Mondiale. Remember that, 243 feet. We're going to check back in with Gavin in a little while. Let's see if he's able. Already 234 feet. So Gavin is slowly working his way back across to the World Tour rider from the French team. We're going to see where our very own Nate Brown is. Nate riding strong in 20th. He's not far from Remy Cavagna from Deceuninck Quickstep. Really incredible ride. Cavagna is a huge legend or engine who's proven that he can win on the toughest courses in the world. So really impressive ride by Nate Brown to be in the top 20. Another update is that Matteo Dal-Cin, if you're just joining us, I see that we just had a few more riders, folks and fans join our broadcast. Former Canadian Matteo Dal-Cin, who was 5th just a few days ago, was having connection issues and was unable to log into the Ruby platform. We really hate to lose him. He got up early for this. He's committed. So now he's in the chat down here, just showing his support, showing his love for his teammates. We're all in this together, whether we're sweating away, whether we're watching the broadcast here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're not following us, follow us. If you haven't shared this, share it. We really want to get this message out that we're here to support each other. We're here to make the best of our situation. This isn't just about bike racing. This is about life in general. And what we're doing is we're just grabbing the bull by the horns. These are the cards that we're currently dealt. So we're going to play them. And the guys the entire organization has really stepped up. We have some exciting news in the next few days about our women doing an online virtual series that we're really hoping can come together, and we can announce that to you this coming week. The Ruby platform has been great, allowing us to live broadcast our own feed for the race, focused on rally cycling, but still giving you a taste of this world-class international cycling field for the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. So we've I've talked about each one of these riders, but they really have a nice, unique world perspective. Matteo has been incredible. He's done more efforts on the Ruby platform than anyone in our program. He was in the test event. This was his third stage. He was going to compete for the team. It's a real shame that he was unable to connect today, but his message, his perspective on the world is still fantastic. It doesn't change whether or not he's racing in today's event or not. Let's go ahead and meet the man from Ottawa and learn a little more about what makes him tick.
Matteo Dal-Cin, all-rounder, Ottawa, Ontario. If you're just starting riding, the best thing you can do is just get out the door. I mean, once you get going, the progress, it just really snowballs. If you can just get out the door on those first few days, that's the most intimidating part. My reason to ride is it gives me a great place to clear my head, and it lets me explore places that I wouldn't be able to by foot or by car. The biggest lesson I've learned from racing for rally cycling is that we really are bigger than the sum of our parts. I've been a part of the team for so many phenomenal achievements that wouldn't have been able to have been accomplished without the help of all the support staff and all the riders, and that's really cool to see.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that for us, Matteo. So Rohan Dennis, as you can see, is flying right now. He is cresting the top of the major mountain pass. They're at over 6,000 feet in elevation on the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. The current world time trial champion and former winner of a previous stage of the Digital Swiss 5 has a healthy gap over second place, which is no longer the Paris-Nice winner, Maximilian Schachmann. It is now Vingegaard. He is shoulder to shoulder with Schachmann. However, it is a dead heat. 1 foot separates the two World Tour riders. Nico Roche has now ridden his way up into fourth, 350 feet behind. Remember, we were talking about 240 feet, 230 feet for Gavin Mannion, who was in 15th. Let's see what the gap is. It's about 270 feet. What we're going to learn right now is there's a terminal velocity on the Ruby platform that we're racing on this week. You get to a certain point where you get to coast. So the riders are absolutely going to pedal as hard as they can to get up to that point so they can take a breather, like we saw during our coverage yesterday with Stephen Bassett, where he took a moment, he hit that terminal velocity, and he got to catch his breath. So it's going to be interesting. We see Gavin Mannion on the coverage right now in the bottom left corner of your screen. Let's see, now he is powering over the top, 7 watts per kilogram. I think Gavin is doing exactly what we've been talking about. He is getting that speed up and over. It looks like he is about to start the descent. We're going to see how quickly he can get up to the magic number of 72 kilometers an hour to where he can coast. We're going to keep an eye on him. Let's see. Our women's director, former Olympian from New Zealand, Joanne Kizanowski. Thank you so much for joining us. Fantastic. What time is it? Because I believe you're still at home, right? You're not in the States. But everyone, thank you for joining us. We've built this incredible community. It's not just through hashtag Healthy Habits with Poido. It's not just racing virtually on the Ruby platform, but it's early wherever you are. Joanne, it might be really late there. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's a 17-hour difference. But what we've seen is that the people tuning into our broadcast, this has grown. So you've done an incredible job liking, commenting, interacting with this, sharing this with your friends and your family. It's been terrific. I know I saw my dad earlier in the comments. It's fantastic how much passion and support all of you are showing the team in this very, very difficult time. Gavin Mannion, as you can see, let's go ahead and put him on the split screen. He's currently downhill. Let's see if he has backed off on his effort. Last time we saw he was at 6 watts per kilogram, but Gavin rocking and rolling, but super steady. So you can definitely see that what we would consider is Gavin is riding tempo right now to just try to get his... Actually, hey, you know what? He's just a professional. He's not riding tempo. He's still at over 6 watts per kilogram. So he is not in a section of the course where he has reached the terminal velocity, but he must be getting very close. We're obviously going downhill to 72 kilometer terminal velocity that these riders are able to face. Let's see where our European television rider, Nate Brown, is being broadcast all around the world outside of North America. That is why we have this current broadcast. Let's see how Nate Brown, still strong in 20th place. Nate, awesome job. You may have noticed the fly rides that these guys are on. Same with our women. They have the felt FR and AR disc. Just felt bicycles has been with the team. This is our second year. The bikes keep getting better and better. They're beautiful on the Ruvi platform. If they ever give you a slower shot from the side, you can see it. But immediately, these newly redesigned FR and AR disc bikes from Felt, the riders felt it, and they immediately had something to say about it.
One thing that I love about my Felt bike,
I really love my Felt because...
What I love about my Felt is that it's small but fast, like me.
Super fast, super stiff,
because it's fast.
super aero, and really fast.
Super fast, super fly, and super sexy. My Felt bike is my weapon.
My Felt bike is faster than me.
Fantastic. We're 5 days into this race, and I know you, like me, can't help but smile if you know any of these incredible men and women. Just really, really good, down-to-earth people, but just some of the most dedicated and focused people that I know. The team, Charles Aaron, Jonas Carney, have done an amazing job at putting together a world-class, best-in-class group of individuals to not only race their bikes all around the world. Today, it is virtually on the roads, beautiful, pristine roads in Switzerland, but also just representing themselves, their home countries, and their communities really, really, really well. Let's go back to the front of affairs. Let's see how Rohan Dennis is faring at the front of the race. The current multi-time world time trial champion, the Aussie on Team Ineos, is currently has about 0.3 of a mile gap over Schachmann from Bora Hansgrohe. He's won the last professional race before the virus postponed our season and all major sporting events. Schachmann is currently in second. Roche is now moved into third, and Vingegaard does not like downhills. He was shoulder to shoulder with Schachmann over the top. He perhaps lost his nerve in some of the corners. We don't know. Maybe we'll find out after the race, but he is now 100 feet behind Nico Roche. It's not too much of a gap, but there is no drafting on the Ruvi platform, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast. So if you're losing the wheel, it means you're losing the watts, or they're increasing their effort and have done a nice job pacing. Pozzovivo, the Italian Grand Tour contender for NTT Pro Cycling, is currently in sixth. Russian Zakharine, who was on the podium the other day, in seventh. Sunweb, again, another strong performance with Aussie climber Chris Hamilton. We're going to drop back with Schultz from Mitchelton, Scott, James Whelan, blasted out of the gates. Like I said, he had lost over 5 spots as we were getting to the top of the climb, and it's very, very difficult. He's now 3 watts per kilogram. No doubt if we were watching James Whelan, he would be taking a breather, probably taking another drink from his bottle before that final climb to Descentis Cedrune and the conclusion of the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. James Pickley, the Canadian, he was with the American team Elevate last year and currently riding for Israel Startup Nation in 13th. Gavin Mannion, out of Colorado, we started the broadcast with him. You want to watch Gavin? He's in the bottom corner right now. If you got any questions for him, drop them in the comments. I will do my best to get to them, and I can ask Gavin Mannion at the conclusion of this episode or of this broadcast. So whether it's, the effort itself, how he's adjusting to these new times at home, what races he misses most, just leave the comments there. I'll do my best to get those over to Gavin. But if you're just joining us, thank you so much. I know we just have a few more people joining our broadcast. Thank you. Drop us a like, give us a comment. What are you looking for? Gavin Mannion is currently just over halfway through stage 5 of the Digital Swiss 5. He's currently in 15th. Mentioned at the top of the broadcast, this will be available for playback, so if you missed anything, stay with us live. You'll be able to watch this later and share it with your friends. But this is the largest, most talented collection of professional climbers ever on a virtual platform. It's really exceptional what the athletes are doing. Unfortunately, our former Canadian road champion, Matteo Dal-Cin, was unable to connect to the Ruvi platform, and so we started down one rider. But the simple fact remains that of the 18 teams, this is professional sports, we always have statistics, and we found a fantastic one. It did not take much work. We've been covering this. You've been with us every day. Is that out of the 18 teams, only 6 have had a rider finish in the top 15 in every stage, and the boys in orange, they are one of them. Gavin Mannion is looking to carry that through the end of the final stage, so that we can make that elite list that includes teams like Team Ineos, CCC Team, Groupama FDJ, and Team Sunweb. So Gavin Mannion is 7 watts per kilogram despite going downhill. He is not at that terminal velocity limit on the Ruby platform. Let's go ahead and take a look at Gavin in his Fort Collins, Colorado basement. Let's see if the effort is showing. No, he looks, he's stretching. He's tweaking. He's giving a little stretch for his back, opening up his hips a little bit. Gavin looks very comfortable. This is a great indication for the final climb to the line on the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. Let's see where our Tennessee native, Nate Brown, is stacking up. Nate is still solidly in 20th. He is riding towards his top finish of the Digital Swiss 5. Nate is on the international coverage, so he's on worldwide television coverage everywhere outside of North America and Japan. Nate looks really great. Every team gets 3 riders. We only have 2. Matteo was unable to connect to the platform this morning. It was a real shame. We're going to have him on our live stream. He's in the chat. He's having another cup of coffee, just relaxing, cheering on the boys. And Gavin Mannion, very last minute, awesome. He immediately adjusted, did what he could to join us here because we know you appreciate it, and he wants to show you how much he appreciates it by very last minute getting his phone out, logging onto Skype, hooking up the headphones, and making sure that you have a rider to talk to before and after the broadcast, and someone who can just give you a further insight into kind of effort it takes to be competitive against these world-class athletes. Nate Brown is going toe-to-toe with Walter from Team CCC on the descent of the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. Beautiful view right here through the heart of Switzerland. We all wish we could be there. Every rider, staff member, we all wanted to be at the 2019 Tour de Suisse. Same thing with this year. And then we're looking forward to the event in 2021. The teams, the peloton, the entire cycling world, what they'll say about the Tour de Suisse is it's one of the most well-run, nicest races of the year. The top riders target it, or it's their final prep race for the Tour de France. There's a reason for it. You can't blame them. Look at how utterly beautiful this is. Nate Brown has dropped just behind the team CCC rider Walter in 21st place, and then the Swiss rider Badalati, Israel Startup Nation. I believe he's actually competing for the Swiss national team today. That is the one difference. One of the many differences in the virtual platforms are that you can compete for a trade team, and even though your trade team is lining up, you can also double dip and shoot over to your national federation's team for an event. I think it's great. We should encourage participation in all of these events. Everyone should be included, not excluded, from competing and sharing their passion and motivation for this beautiful sport of cycling. Rohan Dennis, former stage winner, current individual world time trial champion, is currently leading the race. Nico Roche, he has also won a stage. He's in second. Easily, these two, along with Stefan Kung from Groupama FDJ, or the Swiss national team, who I believe won 2 stages, have been, if there was a GC, some folks have asked, there is no GC for these races, but Rohan Dennis, Nickolas Roche, and Stefan Kung have been the top performers in this 5-day series, the Digital Swiss 5. We're dropping back Schachmann, Paris-Nice champ, 3rd. Hindley, Aussie for Team Sunweb, 4th. Vingegaard, who was with Schachmann over the major climb of the day, is now over 500 feet behind. Perhaps he coasted too much on the downhill. He's cracking a little bit, but he's at 6.5 watts per kilogram. It just shows how strong the Paris-Nice champ, Schachmann from Bora Hansgrohe, is riding today. Zacharine from CCC is in 7th. Pozzovivo in 9th. Matthias Frank, the Swiss rider on the Swiss national team, formerly of IM Pro Cycling and Aja Desert Le Mondial, in 11th. James Whelan blasted out of the gates, went from 1st to 5th to 12th. He had a previous podium finish earlier this week He is trying to ride himself back into the top 10. Canadian Piccoli's in 14th. Gavin Mannion is now most of the way down the downhill, currently in 17th, ahead of this world-class field. Gavin, keep it up, buddy. He's now in 18th. The Swiss national rider, Reichenbach, has just gone by. He's still a Gavin Mannion, our Colorado resident, who started the broadcast. He's at his home in Fort Collins, Colorado. He's currently in the bottom corner of your screen. Take a look. We'll zoom in. You got questions, drop them in the comments section. If you haven't shared this, share it. We want to reach as many people as possible. This is fantastic. This is the closest we're going to get to racing right now. Ruvi, thank you so much for giving us access to this platform. For those of us who are just joining us, this is the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5 Virtual Racing Series. The Tour de Suisse, Vion Group, and Ruvi got together and said that, look, where our event's postponed until next year, what are we going to do? How are we going to bring everyone together? What are we going to give people to look forward to? Here it is. This is what we got. We're going to use it. We're going to run with it. Half glass full or half glass, half empty, right? I mean, what do you prefer? How do you live your life? And I know us as an organization, we're going to look at things like half glass full. We're going to jump all the way in. We're going to give you absolutely everything we have. That's what you deserve, and that's what the general public deserves. Even if you're not they're not watching the broadcast. Our athletes and our staff are going to give everything they have. We have team director Pat McCarty on the race radio today. We're going to drop back in with Pat, check in with what he thinks about the race course so far and what he predicts for the remaining kilometers of today's finale of the Digital Swiss 5. Hey, Pat, how you doing?
Check in with what he thinks about.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, so we're following Gavin Mannion on our screen right now, who's currently well into the descent. He actually maybe only a kilometer from the bottom. But why don't you give us your thoughts on the stage and how the boys are doing?
Yeah, well, I think Gavin's riding well. Talked to him yesterday. He was not super excited about the 4:35 a.m. wake up to smash a trainer ride, but yeah, I think just indicators from the first climb. I think he's going well today again. Obviously, going for it. I think on the descent again, we've talked about this Gavin being at altitude. He just has to be careful with his efforts. It's not like he can't ride hard. It's just recovering after you've kind of gone over your threshold, over a bit of a red line or some kind of limit. You just kind of go more in a deficit after that. So I think on this downhill, he's really just kind of measuring his effort, being careful. He's in 18th. I suspect to see him get inside the top 15 by the top of the climb. I mean, that is to say, if he doesn't totally bonk, he only had some gels and blocks for breakfast. So not a perfect lead in.
Hey, well, as a former professional yourself, I have no doubt that you've had some really early morning rides and races where you were just getting as much nutrition in because you started the morning with coffee and had to get on the bike.
Yeah, exactly. And then at some point you just, you're kind of like, I'd say you're facing the same circumstances as everybody else, but not everybody's on Colorado time. That's in this race. So Gavin facing a couple challenges that maybe the Europeans aren't, getting up early at altitude, but he's putting in a good performance. Proud of him. And I think when he gets to this final climb, he's just going to do everything he can to move back up.
Hey, so Pat, we've spoken about it over the last 5 days. We really appreciate your insight and expertise into what the athletes are going to. This is a new situation for everyone. The team had never done an organized virtual race like the Digital Swiss 5. No one could have envisioned this a few months ago, that our only competition would be online. Would you just tell us what your feeling is on racing virtually? What are the benefits here, and how do you think this is going to play into the future of bike racing over the coming months?
Yeah, well, I think the benefits are that we have some kind of competition to line up, start, and talk about. I mean, here we are doing every day these live broadcasts on our team's Facebook page, talking about it, having different guys compete every day. It's different. It's interesting. I think the pure racers. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's not like racing on the road. It's not as beautiful as going outside and competing and watching or participating otherwise in a normal bike race. But it's what we have, and I think right now, when we all need to limit our travel, and keep social distancing. Be safe. I think this is appropriate. And it's what we have, and it's what we need. Yep. And like I said, I'm just proud all the other teams are making the most of it, like we are making it like a real race.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast we're one of only 6 teams that's had a rider finish in the top 15. Are you following the results closely enough? Were you aware of that statistic?
That specific one, no. But I mean, you look at consistently, like I definitely pay attention to how many riders per team are finishing in the top 10 every day, and we're like I said, we're doing really well.
Awesome. Well, great. So we're going to head back into the race broadcast here. Pat, thanks so much for taking time in case we don't catch up with you before the finish, for joining us every day for the last 5 days of the Digital Swiss 5. But if we don't catch back with you, do you have anything you want to share with our fans and our partners who are tuning in right now?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody for following. I think this has been a bit of a kind of a fun experiment for everybody. I know the riders are all suffering right now. They may not see it that way, but this has been a lot of fun. And I hope everybody that's been following has been able to enjoy it along with us. And thanks again.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time, Pat. We'll catch up with you if we can later on, but if not, we appreciate it all the time, and we look forward to today's conclusion of the Digital Swiss 5.
You too. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. While we were talking to Pat, we were flipping through the leaders on the road. It's still Rohan Dennis from Team Ineos, Nickolas Roche, former stage winner, leader of the Volta a España last year, the Irishman from Team Sunweb in second. Vingegaard is back over Schachmann. Now that the road is starting to point back up again, he is looking great over the Paris-Nice winner from the beginning of March. Chris Hamilton, Jai Hindley, Sunweb is having a really impressive ride. Pozzovivo, the Italian, currently in 9th. Whelan's dropped back to 12th for EF Pro Cycling. We're going to take a look at where Gavin Mannion is. He's moved up from 8th into 17th, currently 6 watts per kilogram. Gavin, awesome effort right now. You're looking fantastic. And, a special note, we've touched on it the most we could, in previous broadcasts, but the only reason that we're able to do what we're doing, other than the incredible support that we have from all of you who are tuning in at home and sharing our content, following along day to day, is our title partner, Rally Health. What they do is they encourage us, everyone, it's not just the people on the team, to make better health decisions. It's part of the inspiration to Sarah Poitevins' Healthy Habits Challenge, where we have the Rally Health app as part of our insurance benefits. We have it downloaded on our phones. They have daily missions, whether it's getting more sleep, where you're going to learn more about that on our channels over the next week, or it's cutting some sugar out of your diet. It's practicing mindfulness, elevating your heart rate for 20 minutes a day, cooking with more vegetables. It is endless. They have an incredible user interface on their app, and if you don't have it, go to rallyhealth.com, click check availability button at the top to find out if it's included in your insurance benefits. But Rally's just been extraordinary. It's been an excellent partnership. The riders feel the benefit of having a team that cares about not only their performance, but it's more about their health and wellness and how they're doing as individuals, from their bodies to their minds. So everyone at Rally Health, thank you so much. If you don't have the app, download it. Go to rallyhealth.com. Let's take a look. Let's practice some missions together. I may not be moving my feet, but my heart rate's elevated. I feel like that's at least satisfying one of Rally Health's missions today. Keep an eye out for our latest Healthy Habits Challenge that's right alongside the mission of our title partner, Rally Health, which is just all about making healthy choices, healthy habits, so we can lead healthier and happier lives. And we really appreciate everyone who's tuning in. Again, I'm Tom Soladay. This is the final stage, stage 5 of the Digital Swiss 5. The greatest collection of professional climbers ever on a virtual platform. We're going to go to the front of affairs. Let's see if Rohan Dennis, he indeed is leading the race, still in first place. We're going to drop back through the peloton. Roche, you've heard all the names. You've seen them on television. You've read all the results. They're all here, folks. Pozzovivo, NTT, Whelan, we're dropping back to where Gavin Mannion is, still in 7th, 7 watts per kilogram. This is incredible. I know that we're going to take a look at Gavin, look at the pain face. He's already recovered. He must have heard on the broadcast. I was going to go and zoom in. He's a cool customer, rocking and rolling his traditional style. Gavin is having an excellent ride despite competing from altitude in Fort Collins, Colorado. Gavin has not once finished outside of the top 15. He's close. We're climbing to the finish. Let's see where his teammate Nate Brown is in the overall standings. Nate Brown, 21st, is riding towards his top finish of the Digital Swiss 5. Again, we only have 2 teammates. Former Canadian road champion in 5th place on stage 2, Matteo Dal-Cin, was having some connection issues. Gavin Mannion stepped up, joined the broadcast for us. Mateo's in the chat, enjoying another cup of coffee. We appreciate everyone's level of commitment, enthusiasm, and support. Our team director, Joanne Kizanowski, was getting ready for bed apparently in New Zealand, but thank you so much, Joanne, for tuning in. We're so glad you were able to join us today. That's one of the many benefits of starting 3 hours earlier than usual. Our lead soigneur, Jose Souza, checked in with us earlier. He's also mentioning in the chat that Gavin had an incredible ride on the final stage of the Tour de Suisse last year. Anything is possible. He is pushing these riders on. Nate Brown is currently 21st in the world-class field. And again, Rally Cycling is one of only 6 teams of the 18 participating that have had a rider in the top 15 every single stage so far this year. We're going to drop back in with Gavin Mannion, who's comfortably in 17th place overall, and see how he's doing with the gap ahead of and behind him. He's now extended 6.5 watts per kilogram. Gavin is extending the gap over Reichenbach behind him, now at 600 feet. We're rooting Gavin on to chase down those World Tour riders just around the bend. We're on the Ruby platform. There's no drafting, but as the road goes up, the resistance increases on their smart trainers with their Bluetooth connections. That is where they're at. We are approaching the finale of the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. Thank you everyone for joining us. It may be early. In Joanne's case, it's super late in New Zealand, but we really appreciate your support and being able to bring you this special broadcast focused on all the athletes that inspire you. I know they inspire me. This is really, really incredible that although we can't get outside and see each other physically, we can virtually share this experience together, support each other, and cheer each other through our computers here. So thank you everyone for joining us. We've consistent viewership throughout this entire week. This broadcast will be available later. Share it, talk about it, reach out to the athletes, thank them for competing. It's really been a fantastic experience, not only for me, but for our entire organization, that we couldn't have predicted that this was going to happen, and look where we are. Dennis is leading, Roche in second, Vingegaard from Jumbo-Visma is in third. Hindley is right alongside teammate Chris Hamilton. Team Sunweb, incredibly, I don't know what trainers they're on, but they have 3 riders in the top 5. Incredible talent, but really these guys are fit and motivated. You know, you have a lot of people in the cycling public and even pros who just think virtual racing is not real racing. We know that, but guess what? We don't have real racing. We have virtual racing. So you can either complain about it or you can get on with the business and take it seriously and give the people what they want. Is a real competition. People are committed and aren't going to half-ass something. So this is really a great showing by Team Sunweb. We're going to Schachmann, the Pyrenees champ, has dropped back to 6th. We're going to drop back to see who's Pozzovivo, the Italian Grand Tour contender, is rounding out the top 10 right now. James Whelan of EF Pro Cycling, former teammate of Nate Brown's, is currently in 12th. It looks like he's settling in nicely. Gavin Mannion is still in 17th place, 6 watts per kilogram. The Colorado native, I know we've had his father Tom joining us in the chat every day that he has competed. Gavin, another extraordinary performance, riding well into the top 20 on the final stage of the Digital Swiss 5. We're going to go ahead and go to the leader on the road. Let's see if Rohan Dennis has actually finished the race. And the virtual races, this happens fast. Rohan Dennis has won the stage, his second win, just ahead of Team Sunweb's Nico Roche. Vingegaard from Jumbo-Visma is coming into 3rd. Let's find our other riders on the road. Schachmann is heading towards a 5th place on the stage. We're going to find Gavin Mannion, 18th on the road, riding well into the top 20. Gavin, you're doing awesome. These athletes do not need motivation, but you know what they get? They get an extraordinarily group of passionate individuals, team members and staff members. We're always there to cheer them. And yet again, visiting us here in this studio, There's no end to this man's enthusiasm. Let's hear from Jose Sousa as Gavin Mannion is chasing his third consecutive top 20 finish against the World Tour field at the Digital Swiss 5.
Come on, guys! That last effort! Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, guys!
Awesome, Jose. I know Jose's in the chat. We all love him. You want to learn more? Pectimo had an excellent Q&A with Jose just the other week. Gavin Mannion is heading towards the finish right now. Let's get an aerial view of where Gavin is on the map. If we're able to see the finish, you can see that riders are still crossing the line inside of the top 10. Gavin Mannion is well inside the final kilometer of the race, just ahead of Tennessee teammate, Nate Brown, who's on the worldwide television coverage. If you're split screening and watching both broadcasts, that's excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. But Gavin Mannion is currently 7 watts per kilogram. Incredible that the watts continue to go up for the Colorado native. Gavin Mannion currently in 17th. He has now extended the gap to Reichenbach, nearly 1,000 feet ahead of his next competitor. Gavin Mannion is not far off, just over 300 feet from Madois, from Groupama FDJ, the World Tour rider. It's a very familiar scene. We saw Stephen Bassett overtake, I believe it was Ludvigsen, the World Tour rider from Groupama FDJ, for 8th place yesterday. We're going to see what Gavin Mannion is able to put out there for us today. Now it's just around 300 feet of a gap to 16th place, but Gavin Mannion, extraordinary ride by the young man from Fort Collins, Colorado. We're going to go ahead and take a closer look at Gavin. He is now 200 feet. He is in the finishing straight on the stage, on the finale of the Digital Swiss 5. Gavin Mannion, awesome job. All the way 7 watts, over 7 watts per kilogram. He's giving it absolutely everything he has until he crosses the line. Thank you everyone so much for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and see where Nate Brown, our Tennessee native, after Gavin crosses the line in 17th. 3 consecutive top 20 finishes for Gavin Mannion. Really extraordinary effort and level of motivation. Nate Brown has now found himself in the top 20. This would be his top result in the entire week. He now has 230 feet over Remy Cavagna from Deceuninck Quickstep and is only 68 feet from Walter from CCC Team, another World Tour rider. Nate Brown, awesome job, man. You're getting so close to the finish right now. But Nate Brown, another really impressive performance, only a few spots behind his teammate Gavin Mannion, chasing on yet another top 20 finish. Nate, really impressive. Nate, as many of you know, was sitting comfortably at the end of stage 1 of the Digital Swiss 5. Suffered a mechanical only a few kilometers from the stage. Fortunately, this is not a GC stage race, so he was able to start the next days. But the team did an excellent job overnighting parts to his house, contactless delivery, adjusting to the times. And Nate Brown got his bike ready and working to log another top 10 for rally cycling. Really extraordinary effort, finishing in the top 20 for every stage of the Digital Swiss 5 this year. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. This has been fun. This is new. This is kind of weird for us, but we're making the most of this time. It's really been fantastic to have at least some level of safe cycling competition for all of us to enjoy, to cheer in these riders, to celebrate them and their level of focus and dedication. Absolutely extraordinary. We're going to show you the results here before we join Gavin Mannion back home in Fort Collins, Colorado. Winner, Rohan Dennis, Nickolas Roche, Jonas Vingegaard, great comeback for him. Schachmann in 5th. And again, our very own Gavin Mannion in 17th, just a few spots away from Nate Brown, his teammate, who's on the live television coverage across Europe right now. We're going to see if we can get a hold of Gavin. I'm not sure if Gavin can hear us yet or not. He took his headphones out. So we may just be watching Gavin here on the split screen. But Gavin, really extraordinary effort. Another top 20 result for the young man from Fort Collins, Colorado. If you're just joining us, we're about to conclude our coverage for Stage 5, the finale of the Digital Swiss 5. Gavin Mannion, extraordinary effort. He had a top 10, a top 15, and now a top 20 in all 3 stages of the Digital Swiss 5. Really impressive by the young man from Colorado. But for everyone who is tuning in, thank you so much for joining us for this coverage. This is unique and different. We're doing our best with what we have. If you have any comments, we'll make sure the riders take a look after the stage. This will be available to share with all your friends just moments after we finish this broadcast. Again, we have some exciting news coming up for our women's team. We do have a men's and a women's squad. This coming week, we hope to announce a new exciting virtual series for them to compete in. Maybe we have Gavin Mannion, who's going to unmute his Skype. I have no idea. Without his headphones in, he probably can't hear us right now. But again, we're all learning as we go. This is the nature of what we're doing. Gavin, are you able to hear us? So we're just going to look at Gavin as he recovers from his incredible world-class effort. Hopefully he's putting his headphones in right now and I hear something on Gavin's end. Gavin, I think we have you.
Here.
Awesome. So, Gavin, what was it? You can feel free to hop back on the trainer. We've still got a few minutes here.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. Another amazing ride. You were 10th, you were 15th, you were top 20 today. Just take us through, how would you compare an effort on a virtual platform like Ruvi to something that you are ordinarily used to, or maybe even when you won the Colorado Classic just a couple years ago?
It's kind of a strange event because it's basically a time trial, but there's also other people around you. So you kind of get into a racing mindset. Like on the climbs, it's easy to go a bit too hard. And I don't know how the math works, but I remember a lot of our guys saying you can pretty much coast on all the descents, whereas I was doing like 5 and 6 watts per kilo and max speed. So it must take weight into account there. So yeah, it was definitely a bit of a steadier effort if you're lighter, I think.
Yeah, Gavin, because we actually checked in. We were telling everyone that, hey, there's a terminal velocity. We thought it was 72 kilometers. That's what we heard from some of the other members on the team. But we check in and look at you and go full screen, and you were still doing like 5-6 watts per kilogram on the descent. We couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, so it must take your weight into account, because I was looking and I probably lost 4 or 5 positions on the descent, but I was doing like 1 watt per kilo or 2 watt per kilo more than everyone around me. So yeah, it obviously isn't just like you hit terminal velocity and kind of stay there. So that was kind of hard.
Yeah, well, it made it even more impressive. I mean, the downhill was nearly for like half of the stage, and you never got to come off the gas. I never saw you drop below 5 watts per kilogram. Do you have any idea? I know you're one of our climbers and our GC riders. Do you already know what kind of watts you were putting out for the stage, or do you have to download that later?
No, I kind of saw it towards the end. I think the average was just over 330.
Yep.
Which was pretty similar to what I did 2 days ago for the stage that was a little bit longer, but also a lot steadier.
Sure.
So yeah, no, and 2 days ago, that was probably the best hour and 75-minute power I've ever done. So both of these races are top of the list for power numbers of that duration, which kind of shows you how hard these virtual races are.
Yeah. So I know you did some test events with team director Pat McCarty. We were on the race radio with him earlier in the broadcast. But now that you've had 3 top 20s, can we say that you caught the bug, or are you going to take a break from virtual racing? Tell us just where you're at. You love it? Do you hate it?
I think in the moment I hate it, but that's kind of how I feel at the end of every bike race. And then for some reason you get to the start line again and you love it. So yeah, I mean, if races are canceled the rest of the year and some other races put something on like this, then yeah, I would gladly do it.
Well, that's great, because no doubt our performance director, Jonas Carney, is tuning in. He's in the chat. He heard you say that, so you're committed. Next time I'm logging on.
As long as they're not at 5 a.m.
Ah, okay, right. So then we needed to let the organizers know in Europe, or actually just have the North American audience go ahead and start broadcasting some events over here. But Gavin, do you have any kind of message for the folks watching at home who are going to watch later, just as far as not only how can you start riding indoors, but just more generally about this time where we're stuck at home. we're not able to see the people that we love. You know, if we don't live with them, we're going to the grocery store a lot less. So then just how are you adapting to the current times with social distancing personally, and maybe if you have any advice for our friends, family, and partners who are tuning in?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times technology kind of gets in the way of forming relationships, but I think right now it's pretty useful to have Instagram and Zoom and FaceTime. And so, it's pretty easy to reach out and have a little group message with a bunch of your friends that you can't see. So I think starting something like that, like we have a team get together this afternoon that everyone's going to call in and chat and just hang out and talk to each other and not talk about coronavirus probably. I think, in terms of this stuff, I think give Zwift or Ruby a shot, because I don't think any of us were stoked on doing this before. And I think we all probably enjoyed it a little bit more than we pretend.
Yeah, absolutely. But what we really appreciate, Gavin, is you've given us an insight. You've brought us into your home. You've the fans and our partners have all gotten to know you and the athletes. It's really extraordinary that you guys are seeing the glass as half full, and you're really seizing this opportunity that we have. These are the cards that we've been dealt, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast. So we appreciate everything you're doing and your level of dedication and support for everyone out there. So again, Gavin, awesome job this week. Not once were you outside the top 20 in the Digital Swiss 5. We look forward to our next broadcast somewhere on the horizon. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, comment, share. We'll get this to the riders and all of our fans. And Gavin Mannion, thank you so much, brother. You have a good, have a good rest of your Sunday, man. Thank you so much.